All right, I will call this meeting of the Durham Board of Selectmen to order on August 9th, 2022. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. One slight amendment to the agenda. We're under number 4, reports. We're going to add Devin with an IT report. Any other amendments to the agenda? Okay. Anybody here for public comment? Seeing none, public comment is closed. Reports. We do not have the fire chief or road commissioner here this evening, so John, our planning board chair, is here. So please come on up, sir.
Thank you. That will be short. And looks like you could set a record for shortest meeting. Or?
No, doubt it. We've been out of here in under 20 minutes before. I don't think that'll happen tonight.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you for the opportunity. My name is John Talbot, 636 Stackpole Road here in Durham, and I'm here on behalf of the planning board. And a few months ago, I appreciate this opportunity to do it, but I just asked for some time occasionally to come in and give you an update on where we are and what's going on and keep you informed. If you got any questions or whatever, I'd be happy to address them or take them back to the board. So since last I was here, or this last month, we had 2 projects before us. One is a continuation of the Deer Creek Crossing, which is that 13-lot cluster subdivision up Route 9 a ways past the school. That is still going through the process. We've had our public hearing. We've had a hearing. We hope that at the next meeting we'll have all the paperwork and the ability to make a decision on it, yay or nay. So this is still in the preliminary plan phase. If we vote nay, then obviously the project dies. If we vote yay, that lets them move into the final plan, drawing up the final plans and getting ready for final plan approval, which they then have to come back before us. So that's that one. The second project is Celebration Farms, which is a Christmas tree farm on Bowie Hill Road. They've been in business, I think, for a while. They've come before us with it, and I think they've been here in the appeals board, and I think we're the next stop for them. They're coming before us and have appeared before us to get a non-conforming use to do educational. They've split their property, Christmas Tree Farm, and then the rest of it to get permission to do educational classes, some arts and crafts, and also use the bus that's on the property for camping, rental, whatever it may be, in conjunction with, or so they've said initially at least, with educational uses. So which is they're going to have seminars, and then the barn, the other use that they like is the barn, to use that for weddings and special events. And so that came before us. We had their presentation, the owners of Celebration Farm, and then the board asked some questions, kind of give them a feel for issues that we'd have going forward. They've taken that, and then we continued or asked them to come back for our September meeting where we'd hold a public hearing. They've since asked if it would be okay to come back instead of September, come back our October meeting. So the first Wednesday in October, they would get some, they needed some stuff to put together and so on and so forth. So a public hearing is not required by our rules, but we voted to have one so that in the interest of transparency and also let the folks that were not affiliated with that have their say on the project, good, bad, or otherwise. So we believe with the next meeting, we'll continue them until the first Wednesday of October. And the other thing we talked about last month is, as you know, we're working on a couple of different changes to ordinances. One is, there's 4 of them total. Historical Commission is working on their own to kind of determine their future and how to organize, and they're working on that. The Conservation Commission is working on the resource protection maps in response to the community asking to have both what's going out and what's coming in. So they're working on that. Our role on that would be once they've had their public input, not a public hearing, but they're planning to meet with citizens, get some input from them, and then the planning board would be the place that goes for the formal public hearing prior to coming to you to write up the article, and then, of course, before the town meeting in April. The planning board is taking on two missions. One is, and we've talked about this before, the state has created a law that talks about by right adding additional dwelling units to property, existing property, and I say by right, so that would mean that if there's one dwelling unit on, you could put up to two more. And the definition of all this is really hazy and is still, and George Thebarge, the town planner, is working with MMA and the town attorney to make sure we get it right. And I hate to say we don't do any more than we have to, but we say, okay, this is what we're required to allow on those lots. So if it's an empty lot, it would be they would be allowed by right to put on a duplex. So town allows duplexes, but there are stricter requirements for duplexes, lot size, so on and so forth. Those we don't think we'd be able to apply. So basically, if it's a single-family lot, they would have the right to put in a duplex, assuming it perk test and you could get a well and all those.
Meet all those requirements.
All those health, and same with the single-family lot, all those health and safety rules would still apply. So Mr. Thebarge has marked up the existing ordinance to modify that. We'll go over that. He introduced it to the board this last meeting. We'll go over that in a little more detail in September. The plan for all of these, then there's one more. You asked us to take a look at how a town accepts a private road, making it a public road. Mm-hmm. And so our intent is to say, as you asked, to recommend that only the town meeting can approve that. So we don't have, the planning board doesn't have the approval authority, the select board don't. It has to go to a town meeting to be accepted as a public road. So we're writing that up. Our two pieces will also have some public input workshops to introduce them to people. And then we'll hold the public hearing late January, early February on all four. There'll probably be multiple public hearings with the goal to be into you all at the end of February with verbiage that you can.
Well, I believe, oh no, that's secret ballot. I'm trying to think. Okay, yeah, that still leaves time. Sorry, I was mixed up. I was thinking we needed to have the warrant article questions like 60 days before town meeting, but that's only if it's a referendum secret ballot format. With our regular open town meeting, I think as long as we have the questions for board approval, like 30 days before the meeting or, close to that.
We should be good, but we're trying to do this far enough advance.
Yeah.
So we all have plenty of time to say, work with the new town manager and Mr. Thebarge when he comes on board, say, hey, we really need him by the middle of January. At this point, I think, certainly from the planning board's perspective, we can get there, and if that's necessary, the other two will as well, so.
Yeah, because I think one of the things we've heard from citizens is that they want there to be an opportunity to make an adjustment to the question if something comes up in the public hearings, that it's, not, that we're not so far down the road that we can't react to something that we've, that should be, and I'm not saying we should react to everything that somebody says in a public hearing, but sometimes people raise a valid point. So I think they want a little bit of time to react to it if we need to.
And we will hopefully have gotten some of those,
Yeah.
maybe not all of them, this fall, November, so we can start incorporating them. And we can certainly, if we need to, do in January. We'll work with the new town manager and Mr. Thebarge to make sure they're written up correctly and have all that input.
Yeah.
And probably I'd be back before you all in that first meeting of February to say, here's what we heard, here's what we did. What we don't want is something that's dead on arrival. Mm-hmm. That doesn't have your support, doesn't have town support, or.
Right, yeah.
So one of ours is
Yeah.
one of ours is real easy. So the state says we have to do it. So,
Yeah, right.
we're going to try to make it as simple as possible. Any questions?
I have one.
Sure.
Going back to the Celebration Farm topic, and we happen to have before us tonight an application for a catering permit for an event there in September. Is there, and you've said they've been to the appeals board or whatever already about something, does that raise any red flags for you with
It
regard
does
to
a
what
little, it does a little bit. I'm not saying you should deny it, but one of the things they've asked for is permission to use the barn. Now, I'm not sure whether they want to do it.
This is for a wedding, and the catering permit, so the business, the caterer is submitting this application to position a bar trailer behind the main barn for a wedding for 110 people attending.
It does. I mean, they've come to us. I can't say if that's right or wrong at this point, but they have come to us with a request to allow them to do those kinds of things.
Yeah, because, I mean, I would think there's a distinction because anybody might have a wedding at their house one time and hire a caterer and whatever, and not necessarily have to go to the planning board, but if it starts becoming a business, then that's a different deal.
Yes, and I think that's what their thought is that,
So is there any, do you have any concerns about approving this, about the board approving this single catering permit?
I guess I do, in that if it doesn't set a precedent, if in fact, and I'm not saying they will, but if they get denied, and I can't go into too much, because it seems to be what they're asking to the town's permission, the planning board's approval of a non-conforming use to use the barn for that purpose. Now, if they're putting up a tent, we've kind of had that discussion, gets into a real gray
It
area.
doesn't say the event's in the barn, it says the trailer's parked behind the barn, so,
This is just for the trailer.
yeah, this is just for the caterer, I think it's for
For the
permission.
cooking.
It's really about the liquor license for the trailer to be on property and serve alcohol.
That we have no voice on.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Personal
that-
opinion, but no voice.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, great, thank you. All right, Devin, come on up, sir.
Thanks for having me, guys. So I typed and printed out a written report. I'm basically just going to go through all the points. So currently, the prerequisite updates and upgrades that we need to do to this building, the fire station, and public works before Comcast can come in and install new phones and internet. I have one of those quotes for the one for this building. They've told me that they are slow at responding and they don't have the quotes because they are doing a bunch of projects for other clients. So I'm trying as best as I can to stay on top and get as soon as I can all the information. So I have given you guys that quote and we can go over it if you have any questions about it. It's basically just a new PoE network switch because the one we have now does not provide power through the Ethernet cable, and we want that to happen so that the phones can just be plugged in with one cable, don't have to worry about plugging it into the wall on top of being plugged in. And the phones will provide pass-through so that the computers at those stations can also be plugged into the phone, so they don't have to be plugged in separately. So that's basically all that stuff. There's a 5-port switch that we need to get for the front desk because there's going to be too many devices that we don't have ports for right now. And that was basically it for here. The biggest area of improvement is at the fire station. There's a whole bunch of new line that needs to be put in. So until I have that, I just know that it's going to be a lot of work. And Public Works is easy because they don't have a lot of necessarily complicated stuff going in. So they're pretty much just take out the old, put in the new. Okay. I have continued to work on getting town staff and board and committee members on with their internet or their email. It's a continuing process. I'm sure you've all seen, I've sent out an email last week to try to get people to be active and to check to see if people are looking at their email. And those that haven't by, well, technically Monday, because I had a few late people. But people that haven't got back to me by now are going to be found and helped. Helped.
Found and helped, whether you like it or not.
And through that process, I've found a couple of email boxes that we no longer need. So I've saved the town $8 a month.
Yeah. There you go.
Which is, you know,
all
every
adds
penny that counts.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm working on that. I'm going to try and at some point set up a quote-unquote seminar, have people come in, and it'll be in here, and I'll try to teach them how to use their, yeah.
Good idea.
A lot of people I've found don't know how to do it, and that's totally fine. So I'll try to set up a time where people can come in,
That'd be
and
a good
I'll
idea.
try to teach everybody. To follow up on questions about the need for new workstations, I just want to say that I've been told by multiple town employees that they have experienced a lot of frustration with how slow their computers are running, besides the internet being slow. And I want to emphasize that it's important to have a regular 3-year cycle when it comes to computers, especially in the business world. And that will give you better security and reliability. As these machines are on all the time, they get used all day long. And when it comes to mission critical work, you don't want to ever see one of those fail, especially when there's a long line. So that's pretty much it. Any questions?
How old are the ones we have?
Right now, they're 5 years old at the oldest. There's a couple that are 3 years old, but most of them are 5 years old.
The ones we use the most are probably the oldest, right?
Yeah. I think a couple were replaced after the email hack around that time frame,
Yeah.
but
Broken
a
machines.
majority of them are still the old 5-year-old computers.
I got a question, Devin, is, so I agree with the 3-year upgrade cycle there. I'm not remembering all the numbers off the top of my head, but some of the maybe CIP could actually stick in their little bottom line tally. I know it might not add up to the $10,000 lower limit.
You mean going forward in
Going
future years?
forward in future years, it might be something to add to their list to keep track of, to say,
Yeah.
we'll map out, you know, somewhat of a plan with maybe what Devin comes up with that.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it doesn't have to even be identified as specifically for laptops. It could be
Any
IT capital
IT
expense,
capital
right?
expense,
And I
right,
agree.
exactly.
What I was gonna say something very, along those lines, in that, when you're in a situation where potentially replacing everything or close to everything all at once, you only want to do that once, right?
Right.
After that, you
Staggered.
want to get on a
Cycle,
staggered
yeah,
schedule.
a
So that
cycle,
means,
right.
in some cases, if there are stations that can wait a year, let's wait a year and stagger them. And then when we do, like if we buy, let's say 12, we're gonna need to get 4 years out of some of those machines and maybe 5 out of a couple so that we can get it on
It's
a
like
regular.
plow trucks.
Right. Get it on a regular cadence,
Yeah.
and then it becomes like just part of the annual budgeting.
It doesn't
process.
seem like a lot, but everybody kind of chokes on it.
And that'll be something that the new town manager will do, and kind of also along those scenes. But this is really good information. I appreciate you keeping us up to date.
Yeah.
I think at this point, continue to collect the data and the cost quotes and whatever,
Yep.
and then kind of wait to get it all, and then, you know, frame it up, think about, you know, a new town manager coming on, and maybe put together a little along these lines, just expand what you've already done. Okay, here were the issues, these are the problems, this is what we're proposing, this is the cost, and we're gonna fund it through ARPA so that the new town manager can come in and understand what the issue is, understand what the proposal is to do something about it.
Yep.
And then they can, you know, they can take it from there and work with the specifics of, well, are we gonna buy 15 computers or 12 or 11, or are we gonna do this, or are we gonna do that? That's really gonna be driven at the town manager staff level.
Yep.
So,
Devin, does any of these programs offer any, with respects to the computers, a leasing option?
That maybe can be looked
that's a good
into.
question, because I know at LL Bean,
Most of businesses are going.
we're on a 3-year cycle, but it's all leased.
Yeah,
It's
that's
all
what we're
leased
doing.
stuff. Yeah.
That's how everybody's pretty much going these days.
How do they, that's a question.
My only possible concern with that is that right now we really don't have anything in terms of a spare computer situation. If we do buy new computers this time, we will have at least a couple pretty good spares in case of an emergency situation.
Just not to, typically when you lease them, there's usually policy in there to have, you know, a response time of within 8 hours during a normal work business day, or
Okay.
12 hours after hours, or something of that nature.
Yeah, I'll have to look more into that.
Yeah, that's a good call to look into
Yeah,
that.
there's-
So. Okay,
Then
any other?
that, they'll generate your cycle for a year at that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
point.
exactly.
You don't have to think about it, but
Yeah.
it is, you know, yeah. It's definitely
Just
an
cost,
option.
right?
Yeah, there is a cost with everything, so.
It all ends up being about the wash. It
Yeah,
really
it's
does.
probably
It
a
is,
wash, yeah, it probably is in the end.
All right, any other questions for Devin? All right, thanks, Devin.
Yeah,
Good
keep up the
stuff.
good work.
Thanks, guys.
All right, so that brings us to the town manager's report. Not a lot here. We received an MMA dividend for workers' compensation. This happens most years, and so our dividend this year was $2,337. That seems, I think that's one of our lower dividends actually in recent years. But we've had a couple of claims over the last couple of years, so that makes sense. Insurance return for fire truck repairs, less $1,000 deductible, so it was like $14,000. That's quite the fender bender.
Yeah, it is.
So,
Especially with the fire truck.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you all have before you, or I think you all have before you, or maybe this is the only copy. I think copies were made, but the auditor's report for fiscal '21. No significant red flags. Everything looked good. So that was what Mitch would have talked about tonight. Mitch is attending to some family matters tonight. He's in New York, but he will be back with us at our next meeting, even though our next meeting, our new town manager will officially be on board. Mitch will be here, you know, and he's gonna help us through the transition. I've spoken to him a couple of times, and he's basically, however we want to manage it, he's open to. So, and I think that'll largely be between he and Jerry, like how much, I would think there'll be some period of time where they're both kind of in the office together, and you know, Mitch has given them a little town manager 101, you know, kind of stuff, and especially, you know, as we're, you know, it won't be long before we're like thick into budget season again for next year. So, yep. So I think getting Jerry, you know, in a good spot to be ready for budget season is probably the biggest priority for him, or else, you know, we're gonna have a repeat of what we had last year, and nobody wants that. So, all right, so that's it for what we have for town manager's report. Under old business, just a general review, town meeting and warrant articles for our special town meeting next week. I talked to town clerk before the meeting, and everything's looking good. We're all set. Bill Schneider's gonna be the moderator for us. It'll be at the Eureka Center. They'll set it up. Jessica and Devin, so the town clerk and IT officer they're going to go, they purchased a new camera for recording, and they're gonna go test that tomorrow and make sure that they have ability to record that meeting and then post it later online. So they're paying a lot of attention to that. We're focused on recording, not necessarily live broadcasting. If we can do the live broadcast on YouTube in addition to, great, but we've definitely told them that the priority is a recording that can get posted on the website that people can then watch whenever they want, so. All right, but, and the budget committee, I'm told unanimously approved all 4 of the warrant article questions. After some lively discussion, I understand.
I'm sure.
And,
Exciting.
yeah, and, so anyway, so we'll go into town meeting and hopefully get the voters' approval, and we can move forward with those things, so. All right.
Mr. Chairman, if I would,
Yes,
one of
please.
the questions that came up, led to some of the lively discussion, was how many computers the town will end up with, what, at 45,000, 8,000 is, I think, firewalls and that kind of stuff. So it may not hurt to kind of know going to that meeting how many computers. It's not gonna be all, I don't think it's all 18, or if it is, that may be, that my expectations, that is a question that will come.
Yeah, so we'll try to have a better idea of that. I don't, it's only a week away, and he's still waiting on some info,
And
and
Devin did, I'm not picking on Devin. He
Yeah,
did a
no.
great job.
that's what I understand, and we'll definitely, I think, we'll prioritize things like, security and firewall will get prioritized over, a number of laptops, for instance, so, but, I know there was some question about there was a belief or thought, opinion that, 5-year computers were not old, but I would disagree with that, and I think most people that work with technology in business would disagree with that, but,
Someone brought that up.
yeah, so, anyway.
It's too bad. These people don't even keep their phones 5 years.
Right. Okay, all right, let's move on to new business. We have a BYOB application, I believe this was for a wedding.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
BYO for a wedding in October, and so basically what they're filling out the state application, and the state wants to know that the local community is okay with it before they approve it, and so that's what this is, a wedding, let's see, on Maplewood Lane. So this is this is not a business, this is a private,
Yes, yes.
thing. Oh, are you going? You on the list? You
I might go.
So, all right.
It's our business.
Oh, it is?
Sweet Meadow, yes,
Ah, okay.
yes.
I saw,
I'll be parking cars.
glad you're not afraid to roll your sleeve up. So, all right, so, I would entertain a motion to approve the BYOB application for 58 Maplewood Lane on October 15th.
So moved.
I'll second.
So,
I probably
I think
should.
you should
I
recuse
probably
yourself
should do
from
that.
this one.
Never mind.
So,
I'll recuse myself from that.
so, all right,
I'll
so,
move the motion.
all right, you move. Is there a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay.
I do have a question.
Yeah, discussion.
I do too.
So my question is, we just had the conversation about a business needing to go before the planning board and getting town approval.
It does.
And if this is a business, do they have?
I believe they've already been through that process.
do?
Yeah.
Okay.
They have their conditional use permit.
Okay.
Yeah, no, but that's a very valid question.
It's a good question,
I
yeah.
thought you guys had gone. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
That'll be the
Oh, yeah.
precedent-setting part of this.
But you still need the liquor
Yeah,
license for each individual
Yes.
event.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
I
what
understand.
this is.
I understand that. My
Okay.
question, just
No, good.
I want to make sure we're.
No, we're on the same page.
Same
on that
question?
one. Yeah, same
Okay.
question.
All right, any further discussion? All right.
No.
All those in favor? All right, and Todd is recused, so we have a 4-0 vote. Okay. All right, and then, so the other one is the one I mentioned, for similar, although this is the same thing, it's just an updated form. It's still a catering permit, but this is not BYOB, this is for the caterer is providing the liquor, and, they will park their bar trailer, on premise. So, let's get the motion on the floor, and then we can do discussion. So I would entertain a motion to approve the catering application for 125 Bowie Hill Road for an event on September 17th. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Joe moves.
I'll move.
I'll second for
Rich
discussion.
seconds for discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, so open for discussion.
So, I thought, so the catering application is really a liquor license application, or both?
This is-
in
says,
one? Need to be, I thought,
This is Bureau of Alcohol, Beverages, and Lottery Operations, Division of Liquor Licensing and Enforcement, application for a catering permit.
So, yeah, so one of them's BYOB, the other is, so when I had a party at the Eureka Center, we got a BYOB.
yeah,
If it was catered, the caterer would have come in and done the separate
and
form.
that's how
So
it worked. Okay,
yeah.
I just was seeing,
So
because
it's
I know
who-
that, like, the AMVets came in
It-
before, and they had they wanted I believe maybe it was liquor license.
It
This
just
is
depends, depends on who's bringing the
For an
liquor.
event,
Okay.
so.
Catering, you typically think of food, but this particular is a alcohol vendor is what it sounds like.
They've hired a bartender with
They've hired a bartender.
with
That's a
bar
great way to
trailer.
put it.
Yeah.
Trailer, so.
So, which is
Rolling-
kinda, it's
rolling
kinda
booze
smart, actually, because there's a liability consideration there in terms of
Right.
who's providing and serving the
alcohol,
alcohol, right? So,
Exactly.
Huge.
yeah. So I think, I understand, I personally don't, it doesn't feel like there's anything different here, other than it's a hired bartender versus BYOB.
Mhm.
It's an individual event, and I think, yeah, so it doesn't,
Yeah, my only question to that was being that that particular property was flagged for not, just like we just asked Todd, have you gone through planning board and so forth? This sounds like is this for their personal event, or is this a
Yeah, that's-
business
yeah.
event?
that's a very, yeah, that's a really valid question, and I think,
If their daughter's getting married, I'm cool with it, but if it's a business,
thing.
I think that's a legit question. I think I would want an answer to that.
I'm surprised they're not here.
Yeah.
When I got mine, I was here, just ask.
most people.
So am I hearing that we want to know, it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, that we want to know if this is for a personal function, or if they've actually leased or rented out their property
Right.
for an event, and if they have, they might need to go to the planning board before they can do that.
They would need their permit to be able to run the business,
Yeah.
right, for this
Yeah.
part of it, I would
Yeah.
think.
I would agree with that. I mean, like I said, if their daughter's getting married, or their son's
Yeah,
getting
that-
married,
if it's a- yeah.
or Uncle Harry's getting married, that's
Right,
fine. Just
yeah, family,
If it's a-
right.
private entity getting married on their property, that sounds more of a
So
business.
I think the question is, are they getting paid to
Right,
lease
is
the
it for-
space, or
for
is
fee
it?
or not, right?
Right, that's another way to put it.
And if it is for fee,
I charge
does
my-
that trigger the need for a planning board review or not? I don't know. Somebody would have to go through the ordinance and see.
Yeah, well, I was under the impression this particular property is trying to get that.
Right.
So that's why it was like,
Yeah.
I think that's why we asked Todd that question.
Yeah.
That's what raised it for me.
Yeah, that's likewise, because usually these are
And you
you know,
should.
pass go and collect your $200. There's really not a lot of red flags with these, but when
Yeah.
You want to call them?
Well, when John Talbot just said that they've been
Right.
to the.
Let's call them, because what I'm,
Yeah, I wouldn't wanna hold them up if it's.
because their event is September 17th.
Right.
And it takes a little while to get a license through the state.
Right,
You guys okay if I call the number on the application?
absolutely.
Was that gonna be for the caterer, or is that gonna be? or
I
do you have-
believe it's for the caterer. Actually, yeah, because
Well, I guess, so just to kind of muddy the waters, for lack of better words, the person that is requesting this isn't the actual property.
yeah, you're right.
It's an actual business.
Somebody that's
It's a
being
third
hired.
party that's being hired. So it's a little bit different than Todd's.
Well, no, because if this were,
Well, that's a licensed individual.
it would be the same thing if the event was at Todd's place, unless you have your own.
It would be the same.
It'd be, if you don't,
Yeah. The same
that's
application, you know, the same situation, except we have a permit.
And actually, and it would be the same if we were doing it in my backyard.
Yeah.
But the difference is,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be leasing out, if it was my own function, I'm not renting out my backyard,
So-
whereas in
Yeah.
this case, we
No,
don't
you're right.
know, they might
You're
be.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird.
It's kind of tough to wait, but I just don't, I mean, if there's a number and you can reach somebody and get that answer, I would be okay
Well,
waiting
this is
tonight.
the number of the caterers, not the number of the property
Property
owner.
owner. Maybe that's something we need to think about changing in the future, is having the property owners present for some
Usually
of
somebody's
these.
here.
Yeah.
The applicant's
Yeah.
usually
I mean, there hasn't,
Because then-
since we started, there hasn't been someone here on any of them, but, well,
The
except for
the
one,
AM
but.
the AMVets.
Right.
AMVets,
But-
sometimes.
And that was only because I raised the alarms with
Right,
them when
you-
I texted my friend, and Amvet said, what is this
What's up?
about?
Yeah, right.
But when I
Exactly.
did mine, there was no question I was here, even though,
Right.
so I'm surprised that no one comes for them.
Um,
But I mean, the issue I have is, I'm not gonna be at the next meeting and we're kind of waiting, it's gonna be close for the event, and so, I don't know how to get around that, but that's an issue, if there's a way to resolve it.
So I guess options are to, not deny it tonight and basically make them come back, at our meeting on the 23rd. And that would still give them 3 weeks before the event. And I think that's enough time, because I know the AMVets has been here in the past, and we've signed an application, and they've driven to Augusta the next day. and
Yeah, I
gotten
think
it
once you
done.
get the approval, you just go to the.
Yeah.
The
So,
place. So I think that's easy, but-
we have a motion on the floor, right? So, procedure-wise, I'm almost saying I think we should table this till our next meeting, but I don't know if you can table something if there's a motion on the floor.
I think the motion can be
We
withdrawn,
have to-
but,
Well, we can withdraw the motion,
Yeah.
or we can just deny it,
So-
but, I mean,
and they can resubmit.
Yeah.
We can deny it, have it on the next agenda.
I guess my question, and maybe nobody knows the answer to this, Kevin or John, is, by approving this, and let's just say it is for a function outside of a family event, are we as a town condoning the use of that if they are in front? Are we setting a precedent?
I think so.
My opinion would be no. I just think it would, it would be, it would, yeah, my opinion would be no. And so part of me is definitely thinking this might be where you are. It's like, you know what, we could go ahead and approve this and use it as start the conversation with them. Look, if this is going to be an ongoing thing, you need to go through
But-
the process.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing if, in terms of impact, let's talk about, because part of the reason for conditional use fee is about impact to neighbors, right?
Right.
So if we approve this one, the impact to neighbors there is no different than if we approved one at any other address in town for a private function,
Yep.
right? It's when it becomes multiple, like every weekend, these guys have got a band playing in the backyard because they're hosting weddings, right? That's the type of thing that's why we have the conditional permit process.
And I would think also that the code enforcement officer would play a hand in this if this were to go on for any type of, thing if they weren't given a conditional use.
Well, if they were the role of,
Or before that.
the role of, so the code enforcement is the first gatekeeper,
Right.
right? And so what he would do is say, if, you know what, you need a conditional use permit for this, you need to go to the planning board.
Right.
And that's the handoff,
Yep.
right? So,
It sounds like it's with the planning board already, to some extent.
well, it sounded like for something a
That's the
little
only
bit
thing money,
different.
that's kind
That
of.
was
what's
for a
money
little
in
bit
it.
different, it was like education thing and a bus and.
Yeah, but
it
he
wasn't
said-
quite fall and all
But it was
that.
also for.
No, he said the
Also
barn.
for that,
It was
yeah.
He
also
said the
for
barn
that.
special events was on
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
as well, and the camping bus.
And that's the thing, you know, if you, the barn, I'm sure all kinds of code stuff will come into play if you wanna use a barn for public events.
But that's
You
what
know.
this application's for, barn area.
Oh, it's not. It doesn't say barn on it, does
It's-
it?
It's to put the trailer behind the barn,
Trailer behind
the
the
liquor
barn.
trailer behind the barn.
So,
I mean, one would assume.
Barn's getting used.
what's that?
That's hard because I'm
Yeah.
concerned about parking there. Cause I've seen it get,
Do they do it often?
Yeah, but what,
they have events there before and they have people parking on the side of the road.
yeah, but if it was just somebody having a private function at their home,
Yeah, have people park.
you'd have the
around,
same
so-
issue, right?
Right.
So that's why where I'm kind of,
Mm.
in order to, you know, not completely, you know, rain on their wedding parade or whatever, to approve this one, but make sure we, before there's another one, make sure that we get
Yeah.
clear on
Follow up with.
what they need, yeah, follow up with them and, you know.
Yep.
So I look at it as kind of a common sense, you know, kind of an approach versus a,
Okay.
you know,
Alright.
being
But-
an absolute, you know,
Yeah.
hard ass about it, but.
But John was saying they were looking for a non-conforming use
Right.
permit.
Yeah, I'm not, yeah,
Yeah, I think that was related,
The-
more related to the school thing.
The education.
Yeah,
So-
Key to
But-
me says it's
but we don't know,
outdoors. It's
but-
not in a barn and it's not in a house, so I'm good with it.
yeah, I
Right
mean,
on the thing.
right, so we do have.
Till it rains.
Yeah, right.
No, it rains, but it says outdoors.
They
is
may
what
have
I
a tent,
approved.
right? Yeah.
Alright.
So the motion on the floor is to approve the permit. So any further discussion?
I don't think we can make sort of a conditional or say, you know, this one time, but is there a way that someone can communicate with them and say, you know, it sounds like people are gonna support it this one time?
Yeah.
Not
yeah.
again, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think a follow-up from the town would be,
Yeah.
and I can follow up with Jessica about the best way to approach that, you know, or maybe with code enforcement, actually, the best way to.
I wish we had a secondary form that gets filled with these for us. I get that goes to the state, but just a town form that said the property owner, et cetera,
Oh,
et
wait,
cetera.
sorry, here's the back page.
Property owner's information, so we can contact if we have questions, like,
like the questions we have.
yes, pretty much. That's why it would be helpful. If the, maybe even the property owner be present if they want a
Yeah.
application to be approved for
I mean, I
their
think
property.
There's a little diagram on the back.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's Bowie Hill Road, you come in the driveway, there's the barn, there's the trailer, this is the stanchioned or fenced off area where alcohol will be allowed. It is an outside area, but the barn is within that area,
Uh-huh.
so. But you know what, I don't know. I think if we approve this and bring it to the attention of code enforcement officer to maybe, or might be planning board, it's probably codes, to follow up and say, hey, if this use is happening, like if you're renting your facility, your property
Right, that's
for
a
these
diff-
events, then you need to go through the conditional use permit process.
Right,
And
and
that kicks it to the planning board, much like, you know, Todd's family business had to go through.
Yeah.
And regardless of if this is approved or not, they might get
Yeah.
shut down.
That should be,
anyway.
that's why I'd like that form.
Right.
So it has the property address, has contact information, has the property owners. It has this gone through planning board? Like, so Todd's not gonna be a constant question every time a new board comes up. Yes, this is an approved site for this
Yeah.
particular,
Yeah,
or an unapproved site, one-time event.
yeah.
All right, I'm good.
And I think more to Rich's point, that maybe a conversation with Jessica about, you know, when they come in, you know, urge them to come.
Yeah,
before us.
oh, yeah, on future app, people, we recommend you show up when you're on the agenda to answer questions, right?
50-50.
Yeah. Okay, all right, any further discussion? All in favor of approving the application? Opposed? Todd's opposed. So 4-1,
Cat for the horse.
Yeah, yeah, maybe. Okay.
Yeah.
I know, Todd votes like, I thought it was, guy votes
can't
against
win.
the competition.
Can't win, can
Yeah, that was that was my other reason for like, how's that gonna work?
All right, okay, we have, a few tax abatements to deal with, and I think, have we done this with you guys here before yet? Okay, so periodically we get these, and it's usually because of, you know, a mistake or an oversight or something in the recording of property or the assessment of taxes. It gets caught either by the assessor's agent, Donna, or the property owner usually come in. That's where it usually is. They question their assessment and then they find something. So, I'm not sure if you realize this, but when you were elected selectman, you were also elected as, town assessors. We are the Board of Assessors, and we are also overseers of the poor. That is our complete title. So when we do this assessing stuff, we have to go into a separate assessors session. So that's what I'm gonna move right now, that the board goes into an assessors session.
So moved.
I'll second it.
All right, Joe second, all in favor? Okay, so we are the Board of Assessors now, and we have three abatements to consider. This first one, please be advised that an abatement should be granted to Yvonne and Brenda Goulet for the value of a tiny home assessed as personal property this year. This property is owned and was assessed to Annette Sains, but the billing went out under Goulet in error. I have attached the necessary paperwork for your signatures. If you have any questions, please let me know. And so basically, this is an abatement of $1,707.75 for the Goulets, because they were taxed for property they shouldn't have been taxed for.
And assess to scenes.
So is it
Haven't seen
essentially
that.
like a land lease is what's going on here? For example, they're tiny homes on somebody else's property, they own the home, but somebody else owns the land?
Like a trailer.
Like a
almost.
trailer, like a,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that question, and I don't know that this paperwork, you read this
It
stuff. better than I do.
sounded to me like it was assessed as a personal property tax,
Yes.
and then, but also assessed to the other people, so we're removing the personal property tax.
Oh,
Because it's-
yeah, that's why we're not seeing a
That's why we're
corresponding
not-
supplemental assessment
The other,
thing. Yep.
because they were billed correctly on the other
Right,
side.
right, yeah.
Oh.
because-
That's what it sounded like to me, but,
So two bills
So
went out.
maybe Goulet bought it or sold it to Sains?
no, it's just an error of who we're
Yeah.
addressed to.
Yeah,
It's just a bad record of
that's what
ownership.
that's what
That's
these
really all
are.
it is.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so any,
Send that over to my attorney for me. and get it squared away.
any further discussion on that one? All in favor? Okay, 5-0. Next one, please be advised that an abatement should be granted to Arthur and Elizabeth Wonder for a homestead exemption that was not applied to their property record this year in error. Let's see, the abatement is the amount of $414. Is there a motion to grant this abatement?
So moved.
Rich moves,
I'll second.
Joe seconds. Any discussion? All in favor? 5-0. And the last one, this one does, I believe, have a, crediting somebody, charging somebody else. Please be advised that an abatement should be granted to Jason and Jessica Turcott for the value of a new home and lot improvements that should have been assessed with land that was split this year. Likewise, an abatement and supplemental should be approved for property owned by Christopher Staples, the owner of the new home. When the lot was split this year, and this is Donna writing, when the lot was split this year, I was unaware that the new home was part of the sale. These abatements and supplemental correct the error in ownership. I've attached the necessary paperwork for your signatures. So it's an abatement to the Turcotts of 255231, and let's see. I'm seeing an abatement to Staples of 97290. And then an assessment, supplemental tax assessment to Staples of 350451. So
So you remove the property tax and, yeah, okay.
right, gives
That's
credit
what- yeah.
some people and supplemental assessment to the others, the people that actually own it.
What were those numbers again? Just.
I don't know if they're gonna tie out.
They should. because-
So 255231
Yeah.
plus 97290. What do you get for that?
Looks about right.
What do those add up to?
35, 25, 31 is what I got.
Yeah, this is 350451, so I don't know, there might be some other minor adjustment in there, but,
It was 20. So I thought it added up before,
It's
but
just so hard. I mean, it was a property transfer. We don't know what was paid, like allocated at the time of closing, all that stuff. It's pretty close.
It is close.
so it should just be,
$20 off.
you're abating the tax for the home to the sellers, you're abating the tax on the property to the buyer, and then basically those are getting added together and assessed in total to the buyer.
Right.
So they should add up. What were the two numbers? Oh,
97290
972.90.
and 255231.
35, 25, 21.
21,
So,
It's about $20 difference.
31.
yeah, do you still have that number on your calculator?
35, 21.
35, 25, 21.
Subtract 350451.
Sure.
2007.
Yeah, so it's like just $20 difference somewhere. And that, you know, what we don't know is like, it could be a rounding error in how she comes up with the assessed values. Like when you're taking a piece of property and combining it with another piece of property,
The land might have been raw, now it's improved.
Yeah,
But
exactly,
There's so
yeah.
many variables. If it's her responsibility to
yeah,
make sure it's right.
so. All right, so we can have more discussion if we need to, but let's get a
So
motion on the floor. Rich, moving approval of the?
Moving approval.
Okay, is there a second? Josh, second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, so, just add this, there's a big signing pile tonight before we leave, so. Okay, so the consent agenda has, minutes and the warrant. Entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
So moved by Josh,
A second.
second by Todd. All in favor? Okay. All right, upcoming meetings. The first special town meeting, August 16th at 6 PM at the Eureka Center. And then our next regular select board meeting is August 23rd, here at the town office at 6:30. A couple of other announcements from the town clerk. I've been asked to let everybody know that applications for absentee ballots for the November election, not the ballots themselves, but applications for absentee ballots, are now available here at the town office and also electronically. I think it's via the state election website. It's not on the Durham website. It's on the state website. So those are out there now. She's received a few applications already. And then also we are accepting the applications for the Maine has a new property tax stabilization program, which it's a new program, and it's essentially for those 65 and over, and if you meet some other requirements similar to the homestead exemption, then it in effect stabilizes your property tax to whatever it was, the
20 years ago.
previous year.
I think
No.
it's 20 years ago.
No,
I
Todd,
think it
not
is.
20 years. Although, if you continue to qualify for the program and you renew every year, you do have to fill out your application every year.
Yes.
20 years from now, your taxes would be the same as they are today.
Yeah, you
So-
got me now.
So,
Funny.
so get out in front of that one,
Got another
Tom.
5 years to figure that
So,
out.
right?
Is that like the homestead where the state gives in the differential?
Yeah, the
Yes.
state reimburses the
The town,
towns
okay.
for the uncollected money. Yes. Yep. So, all right. So anyway, it's just an announcement that the application for that is available. Those are available here at the
Now,
town
pay me
office now
later.
as well.
Yeah.
It's free money these
I
days.
know.
I know, right? Okay, any other comments or announcements from other board members? No? Okay.
Oh, sorry. What time is the special town meeting?
6 PM.
6 o'clock.
Yep.
Okay, that's what I had on.
Not 6:30, 6 PM.
I'll make sure of that.
I'm hoping we're done by 6:30. But I know, knock on wood. That's probably wishful thinking.
He's funny.
Yeah.
You might be though. That one I think would go quick.
You think so?
It should, but.
What are you gonna
I
fight?
would agree that it
If
should.
it's anything like last week.
I know.
Is it 3 minutes at the microphone, one time up?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
There should be something to that effect.
Yeah,
You
we've
get one
never,
time
we've
up.
never,
Talk to
we've
Bill.
done the, we've never really done that at town meeting, as last town meeting made very obvious. I mean, there were some people that were on motorized treadmills circulating through
Yep.
time after
Yep.
time after time, so, they, you know who they
That's
are,
what town meetings
so,
Everybody knows who they are.
yeah. All right, we don't need an executive session tonight,
Really?
so I don't think we do. Do, is there something I don't know? Do we need one?
No?
No.
Figure out the town manager.
Okay. All right.
Do until town
manager.
All right, I know. All right, then I would take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Rich
Do
moves.
we have to come out of assessment first?
Oh, yes, thank you, we do. We should have done that before the consent agenda.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. So I'll move us out of assessor session and back into select board regular session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? And looking for unanimous consent to stay with all business conducted under the consent agenda that we did in assessor session. Any objection to that?
No.
Okay, all right, that was the only thing we did.
Yep, we're good.
And then announcements, so, okay, so now I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Rich moves, Joe
Second.
seconds, all in favor?
All right.
We're adjourned. Thank you, Devin.
Thank you, Devin.
Oh, we did it in under an hour.